learn what feels like a good investment to you and drop the bullshit when it comes to investing and if it's ethical and the coaching industry and its ethics and blah, 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 blah.
You're listening to the From Imposter to Empowered podcast. I'm your host, Jill Perrick, a business and mindset coach who specializes in imposter syndrome. If you feel like you're not as smart, capable, or worthy as you actually are, and that someone is going to find you out, then you've come to the right place. I went from being a struggling government worker, working my coaching business on the side, but feeling unworthy and burnt out, to making multiple six figures helping women overcome imposter syndrome so they too can sign clients, make bank, and have the business or career of their dreams. I am nothing special. I have a stuttering disability, ADHD, and I struggle with anxiety and depression. So if I can learn how to feel good enough and overcome my inner imposter, then so can you. Let's dig in.
I think it should be illegal when the weather is very nice and warm and sunny, but then you have a really cold day. And that's just the reality of living in Canada, you guys. But that is what's happening today. It is cold as fuck today when I'm recording this. When you're hearing this, it's probably warm because it'll be June. But I'm recording this in May. And me and Ruby are hanging out on the couch. I'm drinking my coffee. And I just had this urge to do a podcast episode about my own investing journey. And it's not going to be like in a very sequential kind of order. It's not going to be something that I'm like, and I invested in this and I invested in that. It is more so my mindset around investing. And I think that you'll really be able to learn something from me and really be able to take away. But ultimately, this episode is not for you if you are somebody who is like, how can I scrape by and not invest a dime and have a six-figure business, have a multiple six-figure business? Because the reality is you can't. You cannot if you are not willing to invest in yourself. Of course, Ruby has decided to grab her bone and chew on it. So if you hear that in the background, say lovey. You cannot expect to have a very profitable business if you refuse to invest in yourself. And I hear you. You invested $5,000 into this coach. You invested $10,000 here. I've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars. If I were to really break it down, I have invested about 30% of the income that I've made, potentially more, right? And that is completely normal. And I think that the online space has a certain sense of entitlement or a differentiating factor when it comes to being a business owner. But if you actually looked at the statistics around entrepreneurship and owning a business, you would see that 99% of the time it takes businesses between 5 to 10 years to profit. And it also is very normal to not profit for a very long time. But you see people coming into the online space and being like, oh my God, I invested $300 a month into this program. Why am I not seeing results? And I get it, because that is the thing you're focusing on. And you're like, how come it's not working? I'm putting out content, I'm showing up, or how come it's not working fast enough, right? But we have to really rid the fucking industry of people that are just coming in here for a quick win and do not see this as a long-term thing. And we saw a lot of it. We saw a lot of this in 2020 where people were blowing up. And now a lot of these coaches who I even used to look up to aren't even running their businesses anymore. And everybody has their own journey. Everybody has their reasons as to why they're not doing it anymore. But for me, I saw that and I was like, damn, first of all, kind of sucks that I even thought about working with this person or giving this person my hard-earned money. Or if I have, I have invested in people before where now they're not doing it. And I'm like, fuck, I really hate that I didn't invest in somebody who is still here, still in the industry, still doing the work that they sold me on, right? That kind of feels shitty. But at the end of the day, I take full responsibility for every investment that I've made. And I have been burned before. I have hired coaches who I'm like, holy fuck, I paid a lot for this person, and this person is telling me nothing I don't already know, right? But my ego really wanted to come out during those times. And there are some times where I have invested and I have simply not been ready for the investment. I simply have not been ready to work with somebody and do the work that person was ready to do with me. And I've had a lot of feelings about people I've invested in or courses or programs, but above all, I know that this is just a part of the game. This is just a part of the game of running a business, because my investing is not about anybody else. It's about me and the journey that I'm on and what I believe I need to keep things going and to keep things afloat. And I want to give you permission to like release the shame you feel about any investments you've made, about anything that you've done where you feel like, ooh, like this wasn't a good decision or I shouldn't have done that. You can release that, because at the end of the day, it is going to come back to you tenfold if you keep fucking going, if you keep growing, and if you do not allow a single decision to run your life. You could say this about a million different things. You could say this about the thing that happened when you were younger, or the thing you did that you were like, wow, that was a really bad decision. It caused all these problems for me in my life, but it turned you to who you are. It turned you into who you are today. It really, really did. And that's how I see every investment that I make. And like since 2022, I have only made very good investments. I have only like, well, actually, that's not true. I feel like I've made one where I was like, this was done out of insecurity. Okay, so I've had one where I was like, okay, this was done out of insecurity. I learned my lesson. And I still had to learn my lesson, because I'm still a baby business owner. I don't treat myself like I am, but in the grand scheme of things, if we were to look at things on paper, I am still technically in the beginning stages of my business. And it is fucking incredible that we can make six figures and multiple six figures, sometimes millions of dollars in the beginning stages of running a business. I always think of somebody like Amanda Francis. She has been running her business for I think 12 to 13 years now at this point. And people always want to shit on somebody that has had fast success, or they always want to comment like, oh, well, it's because she's selling this or because she's selling that. When the reality is, if somebody is making a lot of money, if they have a big business, if they have a lot of clients, 9 times out of 10, they have been grinding and they have been growing for longer than you even realize. And we have to realize this when we get onto somebody's page and we start to make assumptions about them, or think to ourselves well, it's because she sells this kind of coaching or she sells that kind of coaching, right? At the end of the day, I know that all of these people have invested so much money into their own personal development and into the growth of their business, and it is a fucking requirement. Because if you are going to sit there and be like, you know what, I don't need anyone or anything, you are sitting in your own echo chamber. You are telling yourself, I don't need anybody to reflect back to me the blind spots that I have. I don't need anybody who has walked this walk before to tell me what they think, because I just know, right? And again, I feel like there's this sense of entitlement that I have just never had with investing and running a business. I come into everything being like, okay, I need to learn. I need to learn. And, I also think that this is a flavor of imposter syndrome as well, that I had to learn how to overcome, in terms of you can take in a lot of information without taking action. So like it is with everything is a balance. There's always nuance, there's always duality. But I am somebody that I've always kind of been like, I can always learn more. I can always learn more. I can always learn from somebody else. I can always like take something in without my ego flaring up, without being like, well, I've done this before, right? Because when you've been burned before by investments or when something didn't pan out, it's so easy to be like, well, I've done this before. I've learned this before. She's not going to teach me anything that I haven't already learned, right? But then why are we always looking at programs and looking at coaches and being like, should I invest? Should I invest, right? I also think that that's just like, for me personally, like I just love personal development. I love learning new things. I love having somebody reflect back to me what I can expand on, what I can work on, who I can be. And that is a big part of the coaching industry, is meeting our potential, is realizing that our potential is more than just getting up every day and drinking our coffee and doing the same thing that we've been doing forever, right? There's that fire inside of us, and that doesn't have to be a problem. So again, as I said, this isn't going to be like a sequential, like this is how much I've invested, but I have invested a lot. And in the beginning, it was from a very like, I'm just going to invest as much as I possibly can. Like, I'm just going to invest here and here and here. And I learned a lot from that. I don't regret it at all. But what I did learn is that my energy can only be spread so thin, and that is the same thing too for the business, right? When I was immersed in multiple different containers with multiple different coaches, I was getting conflicting information. And that's when I learned that nobody has the actual answer. Everybody has to have this experience in the online space. It is a rite of passage for you to think there is a secret sauce. There is an answer. There is something that people aren't telling me. There is a secret that these people have. If you have had that thought, like, you are like everybody else, okay? So I had that thought, and that's why I invested in a lot of different programs and a lot of different people, and why I ended up in a place where I was like, oh, this coach is telling me one thing, but this coach is telling me another. And I was trying to figure out who was right. But the answer is never who is right. The answer is what is right for you in this season. And the seasons are going to change. And who you become is going to change. And who you actually choose to listen to is going to change as well, right? We've seen rise of like the hustle era, and then rise of the soft girl era, and then realizing, wow, you really can't just not do anything, right? Or you're not going to make any money. So there has been a lot of different iterations of the online space, and, you know, how things are supposed to be, or somebody who claims to like have the secret, or this is how you run a business, or this is how you do this is how you do that. And the answer will always be like consistency and keeping going and evolving as a human and being the best fucking version of yourself. And it sounds so simplistic, and I know it does, but honestly, that is the answer. It is creating the content consistently and being visible. So showing people like, hey, this is who I am and this is the work that I do. Selling to them, being like, I have something that you desire and that you need, and that is going to help you get from A to Z, right? And then it's becoming the best fucking version of yourself, respecting yourself, not internalizing shame, seeing yourself as somebody who can activate other people, seeing yourself as the answer to somebody's fucking prayer, seeing yourself as a powerful person, right? These are all things that not a lot of people just get up in the morning and feel. These are things that you have to nurture. You have to nurture like feeling really confident in yourself, being comfortable with being visible, being comfortable with discomfort as well, because there is a lot of discomfort in having a business in terms of like the consistency part of it, especially as a woman, with the different phases of our cycle and the way that we have in and out kind of energy. And, you know, just being a fucking human being in this world that we are living in. Like, there are a lot of ups and downs just being a human and maintaining an online business and working with clients, and also being in the right energy and feeling good and confident in yourself. That is not something that you're just going to have on repeat. That has to be nurtured. And if this is like, oh, is that really it? Like, this is boring, then like, I don't know what to tell you, because you're looking for an answer that you already have inside of you. And what I've learned over investing in myself and investing in my business over the past like 6 years is that I need to be close to people that make me feel like the best version of myself. And that can be said for your family, that can be said for your friends, that can be said for every aspect of your life. So why would it be any different in your business? I think that there is room to be uncomfortable. As I said, 99% of the time, you're going to be uncomfortable because you're growing, you're changing, you're expanding, you are making money, you are selling your offers. There are a lot of unnatural parts of owning a business that you need to claim and that you need to do instead of just like sitting back and expecting things to happen for you, right? The way you sit back is in your energy. The way you sit back is like, I am worthy of receiving and I'm going to do the things that I need to do. That was a tangent for a second. But when I've invested in people, I've invested more so for like, okay, what are they going to teach me? And yes, that is a piece of it. But another piece is, how do I feel in their presence? Do they make me feel like anything is possible? Do they make me feel like I'm going to become the best version of myself? Even if they're going to ask me like hard questions, even if they're going to point out things that my ego may not like, because I know that when I feel like the best, most powerful version of myself, even in the midst of anxiety or depression or struggles, whatever it is, when I know that I can make my own money and be a powerful person that helps other people and is of service to other people, if they can help me feel like that, right? Like I will continue to invest in them. I will continue to work with them. And I think that this is twofold. First of all, this is the most important part. And it can be a person, it can be a course, whatever it is. But if it is activating something inside of you where you're like, I'm going to be the best version of myself because of this thing, you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong. And the second part to that as well is like, you have to realize this too as somebody who is an activator for other people. If you are a coach or a consultant or what the fuck ever, if you are a service provider as well, right? Like, I think this applies that you will be of massive service to your people when you are the best version of yourself, when you're not holding on to shame, when you're not criticizing yourself every single day, when you can be an activator for yourself and for your own potential. People can feel that and they will give themselves permission to feel that for themselves too. And that is something that you really need to hear, is that investing is not just about what is this going to do for me, but what is this going to do for my business? What is this going to do for my clients? And sometimes that looks like a healing container. I have invested in tons of things, and like, I would say maybe 60% of them are like straight business related, but the other 40% have been like healing containers and people who have helped me with my shadow work and my shame and my inner child and my nervous system regulation. These are all things that I know will have a direct impact on my business. So there is a use for everything. There is a necessity for whatever kind of coach that you are. And I hope that that also helps you too in thinking like, people are going to invest in me because again, they are not just investing in the thing that you can do for them. They are investing in who you are and how you activate them and the potential that they see in themselves in your presence. The other part to this as well is I think that investing is really important because it aligns with your integrity as well. When you are invested and when you are doing the work, it's a lot easier to be more authentic about people investing in you. Not that you have to say, I've invested, blah, 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 blah. Like, I'm not saying that. I hardly ever say that shit. But I know internally that when I'm saying that you should invest in yourself, you should invest in your business, that it's going to be like the greatest thing you do for yourself, blah, 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 blah. It's coming from an integrous place. It's coming from an authentic place because I actually believe that. And I'm not being bogged down by thoughts of like, well, I invested X amount of money and like I've been burned. So why would somebody invest in me? I don't have clean thoughts about investing, right? Like all of these things matter when you go to sell your offers, because if you have shitty thoughts about investing, shitty thoughts about the industry, if you have all of these kinds of thoughts, then of course you're going to have hesitations in your energy and in your own authenticity when it comes to someone investing in you. And it just keeps you accountable and on track and immersed in the world. If you're a coach and you are telling people to invest in themselves and to do all of these things, right? But like you're not investing in yourself and you're not holding yourself accountable and you're not doing the work, again, it can come off as fake. It can come off as inauthentic. And I'm not saying that like you need to be investing hundreds of thousands of dollars for you to be in integrity or authentic. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is like your energy is different when you are invested. Whether, again, that's a course, that's a program, that's one-to-one coaching with an amazing coach, right? These are all things that really add to your own integrity and your authenticity. And because you struggle with imposter syndrome or struggle with feeling good enough, these are things that are important to us. It is important for us to be in integrity and to be authentic and to be a real fucking human being, and for that to be able to like radiate through the screen as we create content and be visible and sell our offers, because that is important to us, right? And I know that it's like very popular to talk shit about people that somebody has invested in or like scam artists and all of this stuff. But I also think that it's a responsibility of the client as well. It's your responsibility to know what you're investing in. It's your responsibility to decide how you're going to make it work, right? If somebody is forcing you, if someone is pressuring you and it doesn't feel good to you, don't do it. Right? And sometimes we need to learn that lesson a couple times over. And have I had conversations with people where I've ended up investing and I was like, oh, like it was kind of swayed by them talking to me? Yes, but I always learn something and I take responsibility for it. And that might piss people off. It really does. When oh, don't you dare say something online like people need to take responsibility for investing money, because the victims will fucking come at you so hard and they will be like, I invested X amount and I got nothing out of it. And it was because she said XYZ to me. Honey, nobody told you to click a button. Nobody forced you to hand over your credit card details. We need to take responsibility for the things that we did. You will be a much better business owner when you can take responsibility. And no is a full sentence. I don't want to is a full sentence. A lot of people feel shame because they don't know how to say no, and they don't know how to say not right now, and they don't know how to have like a candid conversation in terms of like if somebody is asking, hey, are you gonna continue, or are you gonna do this, or are you gonna do that? If you just can't say no, again, that is something that you need to do for yourself. You need to learn how to feel confident in advocating for yourself, and you will just not have a successful business if everyone else is the problem. If you cannot take responsibility for yourself and your decisions, even if they've yielded less than ideal results, even if you've been like, fuck, that was a bad investment, because it all adds up. It all adds up. It's all compounding for your result. And also, when you find somebody who you're like, I fucking vibe with you, I love working with you, like that is such a gift, and you love paying them. You love paying them, and you love being in their energy, and you love being in their course or their programs, and you also get to see the good side of investing in yourself and going after the things that you desire. Now, in terms of how to invest, there are just ways that you will learn to make it work when you really want to. You will never hear me say to somebody, take out a loan, put it on a credit card. Like, that's just not something that feels authentic to me. I don't get involved in how somebody decides to pay me because it's none of my business. It's none of my business how somebody decides to pay me. But you will never hear me say, get a loan, dip into your inheritance, do XYZ, right? Because I believe that the people who are coming to work with me are empowered in their decision, and they're going to take responsibility for how they pay me, and everything that has to do with their wallet, with their money, with their finances has nothing to do with me. And the same thing goes for you and your clients and your potential clients. Get out of their fucking wallets and allow people to be resourceful and figure it out. If somebody says like, I just don't know how I'm going to pay you, but I really, really want to, be like, okay, I am here when you're ready. Right, Ruby? I am here when you're ready. I am here when you are ready to take that next step. But no, I never say shit like you should take a loan or you should do this. I mean, they might have, and they probably have put it on a credit card or done this or done that, but that is their decision. That is their prerogative. And I think that there is a very ethical and authentic way to do sales. And that's what I teach my clients. And I also teach them to be completely detached from the sale, because when you're attached to, is this person going to buy? It's just not good energy, and you never truly signed a very aligned client from that place. So all of this to say, my investing journey has honestly been a very interesting personal development journey. Like, I have learned a lot. I have made bad investments. I have made amazing investments. I have learned how to be resourceful. I have learned what not to do. Like, you guys have totally heard me talk about when I've invested in like an entire team and I was spending like 80% of the income that I was making on team and all these things. And I had to have a realization of, oh my God, I'm spending all my money on this when, like, is that what I really want? Because I was just doing it because I thought that I should. I've talked about my journey with having ADHD and impulse spending and like making a lot of money, more than I've ever made in my life, and then being like, oh my God, I'm spending all my money. Where the fuck is all of it going? So I honestly see it as such a journey, not just with money, but also in my own personal development journey. And you can fucking forgive yourself for any investments that you've made that haven't been the best choice. You had to learn that lesson. The universe, God, angels, whatever you want to call it, has given you that lesson for a reason. And let it go and allow yourself to move forward. And when you really want something, you will figure out how to make it work. And that is no one's responsibility but your own. Learn how to say no if you really don't feel aligned to an investment, but somebody is trying to help you move along with that decision, right? Learn how to say no. Learn how to trust yourself with the investments that you're making, and that when somebody activates you and you feel like you will reach your potential because you're in their space, right? Learn what feels like a good investment to you, and drop the bullshit when it comes to investing and if it's ethical and the coaching industry and its ethics and blah, 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 because at the end of the day, you will not be able to grow a successful business without investing in yourself, without investing in your business, in your skills, in activating that highest version of yourself. All different industries have different ways to look at investing in yourself, but every business that you see that is successful has invested thousands and thousands of dollars into themselves, into the structure of their business, into whatever else that has been necessary for that business to thrive. And the last thing that I want to touch on is the fact that people in your personal life may not understand, but it's none of their business. It's none of their business the way that you invest in your business and in your growth. And people may not understand, but that doesn't mean that it's wrong. And you really need to put yourself back into the shoes of like a business owner versus just a girl running a business or a woman running a business, right? In terms of like, you can make informed and good decisions about your business. And I think this really comes up for somebody who struggles with imposter syndrome as well, because we're always kind of thinking like, am I doing things wrong? Somebody knows better than me. Am I unqualified? Blah, 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 blah. So I also want you to see this kind of thinking bleeding into your decisions about investing, and don't ask people that aren't in it for their advice. Ask the right people for advice. The amount of people that I've coached who have said shit like, well, this is what my husband says. I don't give a fuck what your husband says. He doesn't have a business. And if he does, great, right? But is he in the coaching industry? Does he understand this and this and this? But I digress. This has been long enough. I just need you to know that like it is very common for people to not understand what it takes to build a successful business as a coach, because there is so much internal work that informs the external, that informs the content and being visible and how we show up and how we sell, that nobody can understand unless they're in it. It is such a personal development journey, and you can trust yourself, you can forgive yourself, and learning how to invest and be a good steward of money and to trust yourself and forgive yourself when it comes to money and the investments that you've made will make you a better business owner, and you will be able to sell from a clean and integrous energy because of the way that you approach investing and investing in yourself. Okay? So I love you guys. I hope you loved this episode. Come over to Your Coach Jill and share with me on Instagram how you liked it, and I will talk to you later.
Hey babe, thank you so much for listening to this episode. Screenshot it and put it on your stories and tag me at Your Coach Jill. And if you really love me, you'll rate and review the podcast. And if you screenshot it before you submit the review and send it to me, I will send you a free gift on me. If you want to take this work deeper, come and work with me in the From Imposter to Empowered program or the Real Deal Mastermind. And finally, if you want just a snippet of my work to feel what it's like to be in my world, then you need to buy my best-selling book, You're Not Special, and you can get that on Amazon. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you next week.